Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, how I've missed you. We both know what this means. My laptop is back. My laptop is back in Ohio with me where it belongs, and I can finally show you my apartment. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it grand? We won't be doing a tour. We're just going to stay here the whole time. But the first thing I did to christen this laptop was watch The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And this is after I had watched all three Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And I just have to say that I think Andrew Garfield is a better Peter Parker than Tobey Maguire. But the Tobey Maguire movies have a better plot, if that makes sense. Like, if your movie has Willem Dafoe serving Green Goblin realness, that's going to be the better movie. But I really think Andrew Garfield is the better Peter Parker simply because I believe him more. Does that make sense? Anyway, we're not here to discuss Spider-Man. We are here to discuss the hit Disney Pixar blockbuster movie, Cars! I don't think it has an exclamation point, but I feel like it should. I watched this movie on a whim, basically. I think I was just surfing Disney Plus, and then I had an urge to watch this movie. Thank God I did, because it's frankly phenomenal. It's quite awesome. I can't even put into words how much I enjoy this movie and how much it helped me, I guess. But I guess I will try to do that today. I watched it for the first time in a while, about a month ago, and it changed my life. Then I promptly forgot about it. Then about 2 weeks ago, I had an overwhelming urge to watch the movie. And I think it's because I had been dipping into the soundtrack a little, which, by the way, the soundtrack for this goddamn movie, out of this world. Out of this world. It's phenomenal. Disney Pixar movies have fantastic soundtracks, period. End of story. Anyway, so I was poking around the soundtrack and I said, you know what? I just need to sit down and watch this movie. And once again, I was blown away by how fantastic it was. And within the first 3 seconds of the movie, I knew that I needed to speak on it. So I took notes. I took notes on my brilliant, brilliant phone. And you've probably noticed I'm using a mic this time. And that's because I need my phone for notes. And also now I don't have to sync up audio and video. Like, this will record my face. This will listen to me. And we're good to go. Also, recently, I watched The Incredibles last night with my roommate. Freaking fantastic movie. I had never seen The Incredibles. I had seen The Incredibles 2, but never the first one. And I was blown away. And I think we owe kids' movies an apology, because I think we sit here and we're like, oh, it's for kids. It must be simple and boring. But no, there are some very complex characters and some very complex storylines, especially in The Incredibles. They deal with a lot of middle-class white suburban family issues, and they hit the nail on the head in The Incredibles. And I feel like in Cars too, there's such great character development in that movie. And that's mainly what we're going to be talking about, is the character growth and development of mostly Lightning McQueen, a little bit of Doc. Nope, that's it. Just Lightning McQueen and Doc, but mostly Lightning McQueen. Because when I watched this movie, I feel like I really related to some of the aspects of Lightning McQueen's character. The point where I am in my life, I just turned 20 in January, and it's currently March, so I'm 2 months into being 20, and I'm a young adult, and a lot of my friends are young adults, and I feel like this is a movie of what it feels like to be kind of starting your career, but still being a literal child. So I can relate to Lightning McQueen in that way, and we'll get into that. But yeah, I just really wanted to unpack this movie, because there have been so many times where I'm watching a movie where I just really want to share my thoughts from start to finish. Every single little seed that comes into my brain, I want to express it. And maybe one day I'll do a live watch along with me, but today is not that day. Maybe I'll do an Incredibles video like this. We'll see how this video goes first. let's do that. But anyway, I think we should get started. I just kind of have a few notes about the movie, and I don't know if we'll go chronologically. I might jump around. It might make no sense, but I'm just going to try my best. And because I really want to do these movie reviews and this format more often, because I really enjoyed doing this and thinking about it, and recording this now has already been a blast, and I'm not even 10% of the way done. So get ready for a long ass video. So the movie starts and it's pitch black, and we hear Lightning McQueen's pep talk to himself. And right off the bat, Lightning McQueen is voiced by Owen Wilson. So we immediately know what type of character we're dealing with. And Owen Wilson, I feel like he compulsively plays like this silly guy with a big heart who's very passionate about what he does, but he's a little bit ignorant, a little bit reckless, a little bit like silly to a fault, where he's irresponsible. What are some more synonyms for irresponsible and reckless and ignorant and stupid and silly and an idiot? Google those, get back to me. That's what we're getting from this. So it's pitch black. He's giving himself a little pep talk, and the things that he's saying are a little bit shallow and stupid. Like, all he's saying is like, speed, go fast. I am speed. And if you think about it, like, in the Cars universe, racing is the equivalent of like running. And I just think that's a funny thing to think about. Like, everyone everywhere is watching this race. This is the big race. This is the Piston Cup. This is the end-all be-all of racing. And so, like, do we put this much hype around running? No, we don't. We really do not. So I think it's funny that it's like I don't know. I just think it's funny to, like, make human people things, cars things. Because there's a part in the movie where, like, the reporters are asking him, and he's like, Lightning McQueen, is it true you're going to pose for Car Girl? I just thought that was really funny. Like, do cars have sex? We don't know. I don't think they even kiss in the movie. Do Lightning McQueen and Sally kiss? I'm not sure. What are these? Oh, they're thank you notes. I've never seen these before in my life, and this is my goddamn desk. Anyway, so it's a black screen, and Lightning McQueen's pepping himself up. He's putting a little pep in his step. And it's intercut with footage of the race that he is about to do. So it's like him before the race, him during the race, and they're intercut footage. This isn't really important to the plot. I just wanted to say that this is phenomenal directing. I don't really know how directing and animation go hand in hand, but girl, these hands better be held, because it was freaking fantastic. And so after, like, we get out of the pep talk area, now we're just in the race. And so the announcers and the news people are talking about Lightning McQueen. And this is a great way to get information to the audience. And I just really loved it. Great writing. Kudos to the writers in the writers' room. Anyway, so the announcers are talking about Lightning McQueen and how he is a rookie sensation. He has, like, topped every race this year. He is a humble hero from humble beginnings, is what we're made to get out of this. But they also talk about some of his faults. They say, yes, he's a great racer. He's fast, and he's agile, and he's great at what he does. But he is ignorant, and he prefers to work, quote, work alone. And because of that, he's thrown out pit crew after pit crew because they aren't fast enough, or they aren't up to his standards, or he just doesn't mesh with them well. And they talk a little bit about his sponsor, Rusty's. And so a lot of the other race cars have these, like, big named sponsors, like Dynaco, which is a big one that you should remember because it will come up later. But Lightning McQueen is from this little small company called Rusty's. And basically the only reason why he's here is because he is so talented and he is so good at what he does. And that is why he is here. And he believes that himself. Like, he thinks that he is the sole reason that he is here. And to an extent, that's true, because he doesn't really have a support system behind him currently. Not for a lack of trying, like, because he keeps throwing it away. Anyway, so we're going along with the race, And it's like the last final laps or whatever. And Lightning McQueen goes into his pit crew, and the leader's like, hey, you need new tires. And Lightning McQueen's like, no tires, just gas. He starts goggling down some gas, and he's off to the races. And it works out for him for a little bit because he's in first place. But then, on the final lap, he blows a tire. And then, he blows another tire. So he is down 2 tires out of 4. So he's at a 50% tire loss rate. And he's still expecting to win the race. Newsflash, he doesn't. And it's a 3-way tie between him, the green car, and the blue car. And I would like to talk about the green car and the blue car for a little bit right now. Because I feel like the green car and the blue car are very symbolic to how Lightning McQueen's career could go. Let's start with the green car, shall we? I have no idea what their names are. But green car is the guy who goes, Kachiga, Kachiga. And I have him in my room. I have a little miniature green car. And it's a reminder every day to be less like the green car because he is a goddamn asshole. It comes back later in the movie how much of an asshole he is, but it's revealed that he's been in second place his whole life. He's been riding blue car's coattails his whole career. And all he wants is one win. All he wants is his 5 seconds of fame. Something to like tie a neat little bow in his racing career. And, like, they show him being an absolute asshole and a menace to all the people around him. And then we go to Blue Car. And Blue Car and Lightning McQueen actually have a very nice conversation. And Blue Car talks to Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen's like, oh, my God, I am such a big fan of yours. Like, growing up, you were my biggest inspiration. And Blue Car's like, thank you so much. That it means a lot. You are a great racer. And Lightning McQueen's like, thanks, I know. Blue Car's like, yes, you're a great racer. You do things I've never seen anyone do, but you are an idiot. You are stupid. And Blue Car says, the only reason why I have done so well in my career is because I have all these people behind me supporting me. All these people rooting for me. All these people that I can lean on. They're helping me. I am a part of a team here. I'm part of Dynaco's team. And you need to find people to support you. And Lightning McQueen's like, this guy's got a point. And he's looking over Blue Car's shoulder and he sees all the Dynaco people. And he's thinking to himself, like, that's what I need. I need people that are on my level, not none of these rusty cars. If you remember, he's from a smaller sponsor company called Rusty's. And so, like, he convinces himself that that's what he needs. He needs prestige. He needs money. He needs all these people and fans behind him backing him because he is like the Lightning McQueen. I don't know. He just has a warped view on what racing is and what racing should be. It's only about who goes the fastest. Like, no, this is like what cars do. What they do is drive. So, like, he is a role model for people everywhere. And you can't be a role model if you're a fucking idiot. Pardon my French, but it's a little bit true. Like, the road that he's going down now, he is not on the track to be one of the greatest of all time. Like, yeah, he'll be a great racer, but the reason why people are the greatest of all time is because they're great at what they do, but they're also nice to people. So we meet Lightning McQueen, and he's at this crossroads in his career where he's reckless, he's ignorant, and all these people are telling him he needs to change, but he doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't feel like he has to change. He's kind of content where he's at. Like, hell, he made it to the Piston Cup, and he is Rookie of the Year, and he made it in a 3-way tie. Anyway, so it's announced that they're going to have like a runoff, a race redo with these 3 cars. And before Lightning McQueen leaves to go to the race, he has to make an appearance with the Rusty's guys. And the Rusty's guys are talking about how when they found Lightning McQueen, he was the rustiest piece of bag of bolts you've ever seen in your goddamn life. Like, he was going down the road, gears were popping out left and right. That was Lightning McQueen. And it was then that I realized that Lightning McQueen, like, really hates rusty cars. And it comes up later in the movie that he doesn't like rusty cars or cars that need spare parts or something like that. Like in Robots, where it's like they stop selling spare, whatever. If you get it, you get it. It's like in Robots. But anyway, he really resents rusty cars because he rejects that side of himself. Because right now he's at the top of his game. He's a nice, bright, shiny red car who's who's in front of the pack, who's a great race car driver, he's a great race car, and like he rejects that he was ever not that. Like, this is his life now, and why would he ever go back to those people? Well, those people gave him his start, so he really kind of owes his career to them, but he doesn't really see it that way. Like, Lightning McQueen sees it like they owe their career to him because Lightning McQueen put them on the map, period. End of story. So anyway, Lightning McQueen does this little thing, and there's a nice little soundbite where it was like, with a little bit of rusties and an insane amount of luck, you too can look like me. Ka-chow. And he like begrudgingly makes a speech every time, whatever. So he gets on the road to go to this next race location. And he's in the back of his trusty pickup car, Mac. And that's his only real friend in this movie. Well, not really. It's its only real friend conflict. Pre-rising action, if you will. It's Mac, and he's driving him to the next race location, and Mac starts to pull off the highway because he's tired and needs a nap, and they're going to sleep off the night. And Lightning McQueen is like, hell no, Mac. We are driving through the night. I need to be the first one. I need to be the first one at the track to get some alone time on the race. And Mac's like, no, bro, I'm about to fall asleep behind the wheel. Well, I'm about to, not behind the wheel because he is the car. I'm about to fall asleep, period. And we're going to get into an accident and we're going to die. And Lightning McQueen's like, no, bro, I'll stay up with you. Cut to Lightning McQueen is asleep like 30 minutes later. And it doesn't really matter why, but I don't know how to describe it. Like, I can see it in my head how it happens in the movie, but like they get separated somehow. Like, Mac falls asleep on the highway, and then the little back door opens, and Lightning McQueen falls out, and then Mac keeps driving because he doesn't know Lightning McQueen fell out. And Mac and Lightning McQueen get separated, and Lightning McQueen's desperately trying to find Mac, and he takes like a pull off, and he mistakes some truck for Mac, and then he's trying to get back to the highway, and he's speeding, obviously, because he's a race car. Suddenly, there are cops behind him. And think about how much stress this poor little child is under. Like, he made a bad decision, made Mac drive through the night, but now he is in the middle of who knows where, trying to find his way back to his one and only friend. He's speeding, trying to make it happen, and now he's getting pulled over by the cops. But maybe this is a bright spot. Maybe this cop can help him. He thinks to himself, this guy can help me, like, find my way back to the interstate, maybe get a hold of Mac. Who knows? Then, like, the cop car, like, starts backfiring, and, like, in the funniest moment in the whole movie, Lightning McQueen's like, holy shit, he's shooting at me, which canonically reveals that car guns exist, I would like to say. But anyway, so then pure chaos ensues. So I don't even remember what exactly happens. Like, Lightning McQueen's like driving away at high speeds from the cop that's chasing him, and he stumbles upon this town, and he's driving haphazardly, and he hits a cone, and then it blinds him, and then he knocks over a bunch of tires, and then he like runs into this he goes through barbed wire, and then it's all hanging behind him. Then he hits the statue, and the statue gets caught in the barbed wire. Then it like hits the ground, and he starts dragging the statue and the barbed wire after him, and he's pulling up the road behind him. And then, like, he's swinging everything around, and the statue goes flying, and it lands perfectly back at the place that it started, which I thought was hilarious. But then, like, long story short, he ends up in the power line cables, like, hanging from it, bouncing from it, after destroying the whole town in one foul swoop. And the cop car comes up, and he's like, boy, you are in a lot of trouble. And this moment right here, I think, is one of the realest things in the whole movie. Because how many times has that happened? I know it's happened to me more times than I care to admit, where it's like one small little silly insignificant thing will happen, and then it just like domino effects, and suddenly like my whole kitchen has like spaghetti sauce everywhere. Or like there's so many times when I was a kid where I would be getting a little too excited, like talking with my hands, or like I'd throw my fork across the room, or I'd knock over a glass of milk. And my parents would always be like, Charlotte, why would you do that? Like, why would you consciously do something like that? And it's like, do you think I wanted to knock over the glass of milk? No, I don't want to be on my hands and knees with 19 paper towels in my hands, sopping up the substance on the ground. No, like this was an accident. This was a mistake. And it was just a silly domino effect. And this shit happens all the time when we're kids. And he is just a little stupid, silly, stupid kid. And like, I really felt for him in that moment, because I feel like I'm a very high energy individual, very high strung. Like, anytime I try to do anything normal, I end up like hitting my head on something. I don't know. I make a lot of silly little mistakes, and it's a miracle that I haven't had a concussion yet. Anyway, but yeah, like, I feel for this kid so much. And I feel like that is another great moment of like character development for Lightning McQueen, where because he is so reckless, I guess I say irresponsible, he makes all of these poor decisions that are not well thought out, very, very short term, very quick, very speedy. And he doesn't really think about the long game whatsoever. So anyway, they take him to car court the next morning. We do meet Tow Mater here. I don't really have a lot of Tow Mater discourse because he kind of is Tow Mater the whole time, but he does have a really great shining moment later. But anyway, so he's taken to car court, and everyone's talking about this judge that he's gonna face. Like, it's Doc. You gotta watch out. Like, he's gonna put you to work. He's not gonna let you off easy. Doc gets in the room, takes one look at Lightning McQueen, and he's like, send him home. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He just destroyed the whole town. And Doc's like, no, we do not want someone like him here. He's a race car driver. He only not driver. He's a race car, period. I will keep making this mistake. He's a race car, and they only care about themselves. They are selfish people or selfish cars who don't think about the greater good, and all they do is wreck stuff, which is true because Lightning McQueen just wrecked the whole town. And it's a little bit obvious that there's something more than what meets the eye. Like, this can't simply be because race cars are awful. Like, something personal's going on with Doc, the judge. But all of a sudden, Sally bursts on the scene. Well, sorry, Doc is saying just let him go with nothing. Don't make him do anything. Just let him go on his way. We're better off without him. Then Sally bursts on the scene. And Sally is the Jeff Winger of Radiator Springs, which is where we are, by the way. I don't know if I've revealed that. The town that Lightning McQueen just destroyed is Radiator Springs off of Route 66. Anyway. God, so Sally bursts on the scene in classic Jeff Winger fashion. Jeff Winger, the lead character in, well, not lead, the lawyer character in Community. He is someone who can talk his way out of anything. So Sally comes in, and she has a little heart-to-heart with Doc, and she says, Doc, this guy ruined our whole town. Look at the road. We need someone to fix it. Make him fix it. Then we can let him go. And Doc's like, no. And Sally's like, yes. And Doc's like, no. And then Sally said, well, I tried. She turns around to all the cars that are watching, and she launches into this whole spiel about how Radiator Springs is a safe haven for wanderers and travelers, and how they need to look their best in order to seem so welcoming, and how the economy is bad right now, and we're in a post 9/11 world. Well, she doesn't say that, but it's what she was implying. And she turns the whole town against Doc and for Sally in the matter of 2 seconds. And it was so easy for her. And that's why she's the Jeff Winger of Radiator Springs. Because she can simply get whatever she wants just by talking about it for 2 minutes. And I love her for that. Not to mention, she's a sexy little Porsche. Did I say that? She's a cutesy little Porsche with a little tattoo bumper sticker on her ass, which is like a very insignificant plot point. But anyway, we find out later that Sally was actually a lawyer back in the big city. But that's for another time. But so Lightning McQueen is begrudgingly hooked up to the paver thing that he has to drag across. I think it's like a mile that he has to do. And it should take him, I think, like about a week, it says, or like 5 days or something like that. And Lightning McQueen just wants to get this done as fast as possible. So let me consult my notes real quick. Okay. Somehow along the way, I don't really know how it happens, but I think Doc and Lightning McQueen get into a little kerfuffle. And the way that they decide to settle it is they're going to have a race. And all the cars are thinking, what is silly old Doc doing challenging Lightning McQueen to a race? Like, what's he going to do? So they take him down to this dirt track, and they go 3, 2, 1, go, checkered flag, and Lightning McQueen's off to the races. And Doc just kind of sits there. And he waits, and he doesn't do anything. And then Doc says, hey, Tow Mater, come with me. I have a feeling that you're going to be needed soon. And he was right, because Lightning McQueen, off to the races, vroom, 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 he tries to make a turn, and he's on a dirt road, which he's never been on before, and he slides off into like a little ditch. And so Tow Mater has to pull him out. And Doc delivers an iconic line. Let me find it. He says, like, you drive like you fix roads. Oh, you drive like you fix roads. Hasty and immature. And I feel like that really... It's such a good line, because it's exactly what Lightning McQueen needs to hear, because so many people have been telling him he needs to get his head on straight. Blue car from Dynaco. It's like, you're a fucking idiot, kid, and you need to get it together. But no one had said it as harshly and as in your face as Doc had. He's like, you are hasty and immature and dumb and stupid, and I want you out of my town. And like, there was no tone of like appreciation. Like, there was no like, you're a great racer, kid, but like, no, he was just like, you are stupid. Now fix the road and get out. So in his anger, Lightning McQueen like finishes the road at one night, and it's the worst goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. It's all bumpy. It's giving we used to call this road back home roller coaster road, and it was just that they hadn't repaired it in eons, and there are some bumps and potholes and stuff like that, and that's what it was like. It was roller coaster road. And so like that night, after he fake finishes, Tow Mater thinks that Lightning McQueen is his friend, and he takes him out to go cow tipping, but it's actually like tractors, and they end up having just a blast together. And when they're coming back, like, Lightning McQueen says, I just want to get out of here. Like, I just need to get back to my life. And Tow Mater's like, what's so important about this big race? And we finally get it revealed about Lightning McQueen, where he loves racing, and that's all he's ever wanted to do. And he's dreamed of being a big race car driver. And he's dreamed of being this shiny guy on the magazines and winning all of these awards. And the Piston Cup has been his dream forever. And he says something like, and I won't have to deal with any more rusty cars. And he looks over at Tow Mater, and Tow Mater is as rusty as they come. And Tow Mater's like, what do you mean you don't want to deal with rusty cars? And Lightning McQueen does the bullshit like, oh, no, not you. It's just the other guys. And, like, I think that's, like, Lightning McQueen's real moment of pause, where he kind of ridicules himself for thinking that way, because going back, he was a rusty old car. And I feel like the only reason why he's so against rusty cars now is because he rejects that side of himself. Anyway, so they make him scrape up the road. Going back. After they do the truck tipping and Tow Mater and Lightning McQueen have their discussion about rusty cars, Sally, the Jeff Winger of Radiator Springs, asks him, hey, do you want to stay at the Cozy Cone, the little motel? And it's his relationship with Sally and Tow Mater that really triggers Lightning McQueen's character development. And we find out when Lightning McQueen and Sally take a drive together, because Lightning McQueen has a little crush on Sally. we get more of Sally's backstory. And so I think I'll just tell it now. So Sally was a lawyer in the big city. And one day she was on like a road trip, and it got like a little bit too much for her. And they alluded to a cocaine addiction. No, they didn't, but I'm saying that they did. So then she comes to Radiator Springs and she just fell in love, and how it was simpler, and how there wasn't this big, she wasn't a part of corporate America anymore. All the people in Radiator Springs wanted to do was help people and give them a place to wind down and have a good time and vacation and move a little slower. And so like she fell in love and she started to stay there. And then the highway came up, totally bypassing Route 66. So Radiator Springs just kind of went into obscurity, and like people don't really go through there a lot anymore. So much so that when they have like customers, like people that accidentally drive through Radiator Springs, they scare them so much that they go away without buying anything. So, and I think that this revealing of Sally's backstory to Lightning McQueen really helps him feel connected to Radiator Springs, because Sally is like from the same world he is. He came to Radiator Springs and saw all these like people who had probably never even seen, I don't know, the inside of Ritz-Carlton in their life. Like, these are some back-ass country folk that live off nothing. I don't know. Like, he just didn't relate to them at all. Or he did and didn't want to, because they were the rusty cars that he's trying to escape. So when he meets Sally and sees someone like him who has found peace here, who has found a new life here that she really enjoys, and she fights every day to save this place, it kind of like helps him see it in a new light, I guess. Helps him see Radiator Springs as a safe haven for people like him. And I feel like she really represents a compromise between the life he has now and the life that he, I guess, is subconsciously trying to get back to. Because this past year has happened to him so fast. Like, overnight, he has become a success. He is rookie sensation, Lightning McQueen. Like, this is his first real racing season. And he's really good. And it's been a whirlwind of events, but he doesn't really feel like himself. And on some level, I feel like he likes that. But on another level, he doesn't feel like he's being true to himself. He doesn't feel like he's living his dream because he doesn't feel like himself. Does that make sense? I don't really care. But anyway. So his relationship with Sally really helps him undergo said character development. And coincidentally, his relationship with Doc. So after the little race with Doc, where they go down on the little dirt road, during his breaks, Lightning McQueen asks the police officer to take him down to that dirt road and let him practice the turn that he fell out of so many times, which goes back to how dedicated Lightning McQueen is. Like, he is not the best out of luck. He is the best because he works hard at what he does. And some of the footage from like the first race of the movie is like, it's great. Like, he is an outside of the box thinker, and that's what people like about him. And they like that he is a showman. I don't know where I'm going with this, but he has a good head on his shoulders, but he also has the strength and agility and the speed to make it happen. I think it's so funny how I'm currently going 30 minutes deep into a discussion about a movie about cars, but that just shows you how passionate I am about this movie. Anyway, so Lightning McQueen is down practicing on the dirt roads, and he just can't get this turn right. So Doc comes down, and he gives him some very sound racing advice, and Lightning McQueen is like, "The fuck you just say? How do you know words like that?" And to be honest, what Doc says is like, you have to turn left to turn right. And so Lightning McQueen is like, "You goddamn old stupid fart, what do you mean?" Then he tries it and it fails. But at some point he tries it and it works. But Doc was right, is what I'm saying. So this is another clue that Doc isn't really who he says he is. He's not just this small town guy who's lived in Radiator Springs his whole life. Come to find out, Lightning McQueen finds Doc's old shed, and he sees all of these like newspapers and news clippings and informational articles that tell you things that are happening in the world. He sees a bunch of newspapers, and all of them have to do with the Hudson Hornet. And Doc's full name is Doc Hudson. So you can put 2 and 2 together, but if you can't, I'll do it for you. Doc Hudson is the Hudson Hornet, ex-famous race car driver. So we go into Doc's backstory. He was a race car driver and a fantastic one, but he got into like a really bad wreck pretty early in his career, and he took the allotted time to get better, but by the time he came back, he said they were done with me and they'd moved on to the next rookie sensation. And I feel like that's another reason why he really resented Lightning McQueen, because he felt like Lightning McQueen was just another kid who had the spotlight for 5 minutes before they move on. And Doc wanted to get as far away from that world as possible. So much so that no one in Radiator Springs know that Doc Hudson is the Hudson Hornet. Period. End of story. So there's one thing that really stuck out to me about Doc. First of all, he has 3 or 4 piston cups. I don't really know how many, but he just keeps them to like keep tools in. Like he's got like cobwebs all over them, stuff like that. But he has so many newspapers of all of his fame and glory, but the only one that is framed and hung up and has its own special spotlight is the one that shows when he wrecked. So this is obviously someone who is living in the past, trying to convince themselves that they're not. Because this is someone who has seen so much success in their life, but the minute they had one failure, that's all that they can think. Why does my jaw feel like that? I'm talking too much. Anyway, the minute they had one taste of failure, they quit, the world quit on them, and they went into hiding, basically, where no one knows who he is. So Doc Hudson, like Sally, is an outsider. And that's why I love that moment in the beginning of the movie where Sally's going to convince everyone to make Lightning McQueen fix the road while Doc just wants him to leave. Sally turns to him and he goes, I'm sorry I had to do this. And I feel like Doc and Sally have this little club where they're both kind of outsiders to Radiator Springs. Like, all the other people have lived there for a while, but Doc Hudson and Sally were the outsiders that kind of immigrated into Radiator Springs. I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but it's a good thing to bring up. And I think that that's why Lightning McQueen has such a different relationship with Sally and Doc than he does with someone like Tow Mater. Like, Tow Mater is just there to have fun and teach him how to drive backwards. But Doc and Sally are essential for their character development. And Lightning McQueen, I feel like, sees himself in Doc, because Doc is another person who is completely rejecting a part of himself from the past. Like, Lightning McQueen's rejecting the rusty car in him. Doc's rejecting the race car in him. And he's ashamed that he was ever part of that world, because they're the world that cast him aside so quickly. And, like, I don't know. So I feel like this also gives Lightning McQueen a pause. And he's finally starting to make friends and connect with people. And I feel like when you are isolated or isolate yourself, or you don't really have that much human connection, it's really easy to, like, lose sight of the bigger picture or what's really important. And all of these small, hasty decisions are because he didn't have someone telling him not to, or he didn't have people that he cared about to tell him not to, or people that he was willing to listen to tell him not to. So, like, little by little, he changes his ways and he becomes more caring to the people around him. And I feel like it really also starts with Tow Mater, because Tow Mater teaches him like good things, I guess, like driving backwards. And one of the essential lines in the movie is said by Tow Mater, where he's driving backwards and Lightning McQueen's like, why are you not dying, basically? Why do you not run into things? And Tow Mater says, don't need to watch where I'm going, just need to know where I've been. Are you kidding me? That's adorable. I love it. And like, it's just a simple life that Tow Mater lives, and I love it. I eat it up all the time. And like, it's just little moments like this and that help Lightning McQueen feel better about himself in every sense of himself, like who he is, where he came from, and he starts connecting with people. And there's this big montage where he goes and visits all the shops at Radiator Springs. Like, he goes and gets new tires from Luigi, and he goes and gets some gas at Flo's, and then he gets some organic gas at the hippie one, and then he gets some Army surplus, and then he gets a paint job from Ramon, stuff like that. So he has a little moment with all these people in the town, and you know what? He falls in love with Radiator Springs. He feels like he finally has a home and people to call home, like a place and a face to call home. Thank you, John Mayer, for that beautiful song. Anyway, and like, shit, where was I going? I don't know. I had a really good point that I wanted to make, but I don't know what it was. Oh, well. No, I need to know what it was, because like, it led up to the next thing. Oh, well, I guess. I mean, but yeah, so it's his relationships that he makes that helps him change into a better person, is all I have to say. So he does his little montage about getting better, and he fixes the road, and he has a tender moment with Sally, and it seems like everything's finally looking up and gearing up, and he's happy. And for the first time in his life, or his new life, his racing career, he's at peace. And he realizes that all of life isn't about racing. And so then all of a sudden there's like helicopters in the air and news people swarming and stuff like that. And we found the great Lightning McQueen. He was missing for a while, but now we found him. And so he's dragged off without getting to say goodbye to everyone, dragged off to his Piston Cup race. And it's revealed that Doc was the one that called all the news stations to get Lightning McQueen out of here, because he's so bitter that, he says this great line. He says something like, I've tried to reject that world as much as possible, but I never thought that world would find me here. And I feel like as much as this is Lightning McQueen's story, this is Doc's story as well. And we've had 4? We've had a couple of Cars movies. Can we have a Cars prequel talking about Doc Hudson? Please? Please, can we? Because I feel like he's a very complex character with things to say. And I would love to see Doc have a little love interest. Maybe she dies tragically in like a trash compactor, something like that. Love to see it. Let's make this happen. But anyway, it's revealed that Doc called the people to get him there, and Doc and Sally get into a little fight, a little tiff, and I don't really know exactly what was said, but it goes back to that special relationship that Doc and Sally have, where, you know, they understand what this place does to people. It's the Greendale effect. Everything circles back to community, where it's like once you go and you feel what that place has to offer, you can never really leave. And so, like, they've both experienced it, and they both saw it happening to Lightning McQueen, and Sally wanted him to stay, but Doc, in his selfish needs, didn't want a reminder of his racing past, so he's like, Lightning McQueen, GTFO. So, cut to Lightning McQueen at the race. He's floundering. His mind's not in it. He's wishing he was back at Radiator Springs with Sally and her bumper sticker Porsche ass. And his heart's not in it, and Mac's like, bro, what's happening? Keep in mind, he does not have a pit crew. No pit crew will work for him because he's been so stupid and ignorant. Anyway, so he's in last place, down a lap and a half, if you will. And it seems like there's no help in sight. There's no hope in sight, if you will. And then suddenly, over the little intercom, he hears Doc Hudson's voice. He looks over to the stands. There he is, Doc Hudson and his own personal pit crew and support team. Suddenly, he's back in the game. Brother is back in the game. And combined with the fastest pit time to have ever been recorded ever by a singular little pit car thingamabob, whatever, he makes up the lap, and he's in first place because he has these people supporting him. The people that he wanted to be there were finally there for him. Basically. So this is like the big climax of the movie. Okay, the final race. He's in first place, and he's racing against blue car and green car. We know this, right? Green car, bad one. Blue car, good one. And green car is like, I am not coming in last place. So he, boom, elbows blue car. Blue car goes spinning out and he's like wrecked. And this is blue car's last race of his career. Okay, he's retiring after this, and he wanted to come out on top, but he's just happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? So, blue car spins out, and he's essentially wrecked. Like, his life is in danger. And Lightning McQueen sees this on the Jumbotron. He is literally about to win, about to cross the finish line. Full stop. He comes to a full stop because on that Jumbotron, he didn't just see blue car dying. He saw Doc. He saw Doc and what Doc went through, and he related the two in his head, and he wanted to change the racing agenda, basically. He wanted to change the racing attitude, the dynamic of what race cars should be. He wanted to be a role model. And this is the moment where all of his character growth comes to a head. Because, like before, Lightning McQueen would have just finished the race, no problem. He would have won his first Piston Cup. And no one really would have bat an eyelash at that because he didn't do the bad thing to blue car. But like he's finally understanding the bigger picture, like how racing culture is such a big part of car culture, and how we need to sometimes put winning aside in favor of being nice to each other. So Lightning McQueen stops right before the finish line. Green car wins the Piston Cup. But Lightning McQueen goes back and he pushes blue car across the finish line. And he says it's because the king, blue car, I finally remembered his name, should finish his last race. And this is the most wholesome moment I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Two cars made me cry. I got misty-eyed, let me tell you. And so, like, afterwards, everyone is beyond happy with Lightning McQueen, so much so like they hate Green Car. Green Car's an asshole. People boo him off the stage. Like, yes, he won the Piston Cup, but people hate him. Lightning McQueen won that race. He won it in reality, kind of, because he would have won if he had not done that heroic act. But he also, like, won in our hearts. So much so that after, the Dynaco people, the people at the beginning of the movie he was so wanting to impress, so wanting to work for, they come up to him and they're like, hey, how would you like to wear Dynaco blue next year? How would you like to be a part of our team? And Lightning McQueen's like, no, that's, but I didn't win. Like, I don't understand why you're offering me this. And they say, it's not just about winning. Like, what you did out there took guts and took courage. And it took humility, which is not something Lightning McQueen was known for before this moment. And that's what racing is about. Being a good role model, being a good person, and being a part of a team, a greater, larger picture. And Lightning McQueen thinks about it, and he says, you know what? No, I'm going to stick with Rusty's. These guys gave me my start, and I'm going to stick with them a little longer just to help them out as much as they've helped me out. And the Dynaco guy says, I respect the hell out of that. And you know what? I think that was a better career move for Lightning McQueen than he thinks it was, because that door will always be open because he is seen as a loyal guy by Dynaco because he's loyal to Rusty's. So then Dynaco would be like, oh, he's going to be loyal, whatever. But like I don't know. It's just it just made me tear up because it is such good character growth, because he's finally accepting the Rusty car inside of him. And he's finally, he's finally recognizing what these people have done for him, what the Rusty's people, they gave him his big break. Yeah, he said it. And like, he needs to show them some sort of loyalty. Anyway, so he meets up with the rest of the gang after, and they have a little kiki back in Radiator Springs, and he announces that he's going to make his new headquarters in Radiator Springs, and that, my friends, is the Greendale effect. Once you get in, you'll never get out. It's giving my hometown. It's giving Poolsville. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, I think that's mostly all I have to say. I just feel like I can relate to Lightning McQueen, not to make this all about me, but I feel like me and a lot of my friends are at a big like crossroads in our lives, in our careers, because like being a dancer in this day and age means like training programs, post high school, whatever. And you're basically starting your career the second you get out of high school. And like, yes, I'm 20 years old, but I feel like I'm still a little bit of a child, and I feel like I am a little immature and irresponsible, and I don't really know which way is up, and I know nothing about the world. And there are some times when I'm hanging from the power lines, not really knowing how I got here, and everyone's like, why would you do that? And it's like, I don't know. And I think, you know, sometimes, I don't know how to say this. I've been thinking a lot about how we view ourselves. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like we use youth as an excuse not to take ourselves seriously. Or, I don't know. Sometimes we just don't take ourselves seriously, because in order to do that, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that what you're trying to achieve is possible, and what you're putting work towards is something that will happen. And if you believe in it and it doesn't work, it hurts. Hurts like a bitch. But I've learned that something that hurts worse is not giving it your all and still failing, because then there's always that question of what if. So I don't know. I feel like I've been very reckless, immature, irresponsible lately, and I kind of want to embrace my inner Lightning McQueen character growth, in the sense that like connecting to people around me and like sharing my story and having them share theirs with me and relating to them in that way. I don't know. It just kind of like helps you through the bad stuff, pushes you towards the goods, and gets you to your piston cup. And then also, when it really comes down to it, if I were Lightning McQueen and I were in that situation, would I have made the same choice? I like to think yes, because I like to think that I'm a nice person. But would I? I don't know. I don't really have a Radiator Springs to, you know, slingshot me into character growth. I kind of just have to see what happens. So I think that's basically all I want to say about Cars. Basically to say that it's one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Followed closely by The Incredibles, which I just watched last night. I can't remember if we discussed this or not, but yeah, maybe The Incredibles will happen. I think Barbie Nutcracker is definitely one I need to discuss, but I might save that for a holiday season. But yeah, so if this hasn't convinced you enough to go watch Cars, I feel like you should. I think that's all I have to say. Do I have any other thoughts? Not really. Happy bike ride season. It's finally warm enough for bike rides here in Ohio. March is usually when it happens. March is my favorite month, but it hasn't really hit as good this year. This year has gone by so fast. I'm rambling now, but this year's gone by so fast, and I feel like I'm not stopping to smell the roses. That's it. I'm going to consult my list one more time. No, we're good.